Well, this thing followed me home the other night. I couldn't say no. Poor thing just needed a new home. This thing's got a heck of a story. You guys are going to want to stick around and hear that. So apparently what this is a 55 cab, or sorry, 59 cab, and that's what it's regied as, with 55 front sheet metal. And I think it's the original box, but those are definitely not original fenders. I'm guessing mid-70s through late 80s. So I think the box is original, but I don't know these old 50s rigs to know that for sure. I know it's cool though. Oh yeah, and the chassis supposedly a 72, but I kind of have my doubts. I thought 72 would have had coils and trailing arms in the back, but this has leafs. So maybe guys more in the know on that stuff can let me know. It's got a 12-volt trucker and so it's some, and dual tanks. It's kind of weird. A lot of weird stuff going on with this one. I have a looky-poo in the interior. No door panels. I don't know what this thing's for. It was in here. Box of extra parts. Some kind of vintage blower motor setup. I love that, eh? Oh, I love that cool old 50s stuff. I don't know what's going on with his dash. It looks like maybe a piece of plastic. They've Sharpied it anyways. Obviously a newer steering column. It's tilt. That's nice. The floor, I can't punch any holes in it, so it's there. They left these in the back. Not sure I'm gonna need those. They're there. I like all the checker plate here. Something tells me that this is hiding stuff I might want to look at. Wiring's a bit of a mess, but I guess that's to be expected. I mean, it's really not too bad, honestly. These are a little goobered. The main rust on this thing seems to be right here. And yeah, that's like spraying expanding foam out of a can. They're both like this, unfortunately, but in the grand scheme of things for 1950s stuff, this could be a lot worse. Oh, and check out the sport mirrors. This one will need some new glass, but this whole thing has sort of like 90s custom vibes going on. Or I guess it's actually it's kind of got a Roadkill muscle truck vibe to it, yeah? It's like the granddaddy of the muscle truck. Got the lid open to the excitement box. And this is where things start to look a little odd. I haven't run the numbers on this, I haven't even looked for them to be honest. All I've done is vacuum out all the squirrel and mouse droppings. But there's a good chance at 350. So I've tried turning this over kind of just by hand with the fan. It doesn't want to go. Nothing rad, well, except rust. This is, it's great. Brakes actually seem to work, and there is juice in there, so not too shabby. And I'd like to check the oil, but I can't because the oil dipstick's missing, among other things. Came with a set of these sweet Kragers too. Check it out, 15 by 10. I mean, they're not in great shape, but neither is the truck, so they're perfect. I got them as freebies. She'd already sold the fronts, unfortunately, but I think I'm gonna run those. Those are beauty. Well, I guess it's probably time to tell you guys the story. So I bought this off a lady on Facebook Marketplace. I wasn't looking for something like this, but it just plopped in my lap. She was a little bit flaky, didn't want to give me her address. Kind of weird. Finally arranged time to come look at it. Turns out it's in a trailer park and not a nice one. So I go and I look this thing over and I'm noticing some weird stuff. There's lots of stuff disconnected, and the bed was full of garbage and dog poo and whatnot. Very exciting stuff. So she gets around to telling me that this truck was in the possession of her ex-husband. I guess they'd split up a little while back, and it was not a friendly split. And she wanted this truck back. He wasn't giving it back. Finally, this spring, she gets it back, and it's like this. She told me, and I'm just taking her word for it. I can't verify any of this. She tells me that this sucker was a running, driving truck, just needed tires and a new battery. But otherwise, she'd been driving it for 10 years. It was her baby, and so on and so forth. It was ready to go. But ex-husband had started tearing shit apart, busted the lens there, and disconnected all this stuff, just did a bunch of weird shit, and left it in this state. And now the engine doesn't want to turn over, and she decides this is just too much. She's not going to bother trying to fix this thing up, and she's going to sell it. So there's already some wiring that I found that's cut, and you know, there's little missing things here. It's like the transmission lines, or the cooling lines, I should say. Where'd they go? Nobody knows. So it's going to be a little bit interesting. There's sabotage here. I'm probably going to have my work cut out for me on this one. Guarantee he's probably tossed some shit in the fuel tanks. And if she was being honest about this being a ready to run and drive rig, then there's a good chance that he's tossed some nuts and bolts down the intake. I don't know. It's going to be interesting figuring out what's all been done to this and what was truth and what was not truth. But overall, this thing is just too cool to say no to. That's one thing that disappoints me. Cracked windshield. I know you can get them. I don't know, it just bugs me. I wish it wasn't. The windows on that side are actually great. The rear window's great. The only issue right here is this doesn't close. It looks like, yeah, that's busted. But that's fine. You can buy all that stuff. Obviously, buying things is not gonna be common on this puppy. I'll make it a little bit hotter if it's any good, anyways. And I'm not a fan of auto magics in my toys. I do have a T5 kicking around from 3rd gen Camaro. I might swap that in here. We'll see. For now, I think we got to find out what's going on with this engine. This is sort of problem number one. How many washers does it take to hold a Q-jet down? You know, with all the random crap I have lying around, you'd think I'd be able to find the small block Chevy balancer bolt, but not the case. So we're just going to try this. Alright. that didn't work. I think it's time to pull the plugs out. Well, this got a lot more interesting. There's my spark plugs. They look delicious. So for these spark plugs, when I pulled them out, they started pissing coolant out of the spark plug hole. It still doesn't want to turn over, and there sure isn't much point putting oil down those holes since it's obviously still full of water. I don't know what the hell's going on there. Cracked block, cracked head, really bad head gasket. I think I'm going to tear the top end of this thing off and have a looky-poo. I did figure out what it is. No surprise, it's a 350. And apparently it's from a van or bus in 1975. That's weird. Well, this just keeps getting better and better. You guys see what I'm seeing here? Leaves and pine needles and plenty of moisture. This has been sitting without a carburetor on it in the elements. Is this even the engine that's supposed to be in here? There's definitely something shady going on. And the distributor's stuck. That's a first for me as well. Cannot get it out. Nothing too wild under the valve covers. I don't know about all that. Whatever. Heads are 882s, so pretty much steaming dog crap. This is going to be a low buck build though, so I might figure out a way to make them work. We'll see. Well, I don't think that's going to work anymore. I have never encountered a distributor that stuck in my life. But it makes sense. We've got plenty more goodness here. And here. Yep. I guess the heads are coming off next. Okay, I've got her all cracked loose. You guys ready to see what's under door number 1? I know I am. Oh, that's not good. Oh, oh wow. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's... Well, here's the head. The valves don't look sunk. You know, I'd be willing to believe this was on a running engine before it got full of water. The other side is more of the same. That is definitely coolant. I wonder where that chunk is. Check that out. What a crying shame, eh? This thing's been rebuilt. I'll try and save it, but man, what a hassle. That head's even worse. And there's even more bad news on these heads. The heads themselves almost look like they got a rebuild as well, but those intake valves might look a little bit small to you. That's because they are. I measured them out. These are 1.72s. Some of you guys might not know that that was a thing. Well, it is. Some of these old low compression smogger engines with these crap heads, they actually got 1.72 inch intake valves with 1.50 exhaust valves. By the time I put bigger valves in and convert them for the screw-in rocker studs, get them milled down a little bit to get a bit of compression out of it, now I'm going to be in the same amount of money that I just buy some new heads for. And the cam that I have kicking around is not going to work with these. It's going to need a bigger head. I guess it's that part of the show where it's time to drain the oil. Not much point taking bets on what's in here. Oh yeah. That's not ideal. That's a lot of coolant. Oh man, this poor engine. Clearly the oil's been drained and it's been refilled with coolant. What a dickhead. I think there's only about 2 bolts holding that transmission on. And the only bolt holding the engine down is the one on this side. Very interesting stuff. I think I'll call it here. This seems like enough disappointment for one video. I genuinely don't know where I'm gonna go from here. This is worse than I was expecting. Definitely gonna end up pulling this engine out and finding out what the guts look like. I think first maybe I'll dry it out, fluid film it, throw some ATF in those cylinders and find out if there's any way I can start getting this thing to turn over before I pull it out. But that cylinder right there looks especially crusty, so I don't know. I don't know if there's any hope for this thing. I have a small block Chevy kicking around, but it's in about the same shape as this one. And the heads off this one are no good. I don't have any other small block Chevy heads. I got mostly Pontiac stuff. So yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen next. I welcome your suggestions.